Take a slow, gentle breath and allow the day to slide quietly behind you. For a little while, there is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be, and nothing that requires your attention. Just let your shoulders settle and let the space around you become soft and easy. Tonight, we're going to wander together into a world shaped by warm rain and quiet leaves, a world where the air moves slowly and time feels just a little older. Imagine yourself walking beneath tall trees that stretch far beyond your sight. Moist air settles against your skin like a warm whisper. A soft veil of mist rises from the ground, carrying the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. Somewhere above you, hidden inside thick branches, a nightbird calls once and then falls silent again, as if the forest itself is encouraging you to listen closely, but only enough to feel comfort in the sound. With each breath you take, the heavy air seems to deepen, drawing you gently into a calmer space inside yourself. In this place, the world feels different. The ground is soft beneath your feet. The leaves hanging overhead seem to form a roof made not from wood, but from deep green shadows that ripple quietly in the breeze. Light has to work very hard to reach this place, filtering through layer after layer of branches until it arrives in thin silver strands that drift like threads of moonlight. As you continue slowly forward, the scent of the forest shifts, sometimes sweet, sometimes earthy, sometimes warm like wood after rain. Every breath carries something of the forest in it, something that feels ancient and alive. Far above, where the canopy touches the night, tiny glimmers appear. These are not stars, although they seem like stars at first glance. They are small clusters of moss and delicate organisms catching the softest trace of moonlight, glowing just enough to suggest their presence. Each shimmer lasts only a moment, then fades into darkness again, inviting your eyes to soften rather than focus. The forest doesn't ask you to see everything clearly. It simply invites you to be here, quietly, one breath at a time. Somewhere nearby, water drips in slow and patient rhythm, gathering in hidden pools between roots and stones. The sound is subtle, almost distant, yet steady enough to guide your steps. Each drop feels like a heartbeat, echoing through the ground and through your body, as if the forest itself were breathing deeply beneath your feet. And as the night thickens around you, your own breath begins to follow that same slow rhythm, one inhale after another, unhurried and steady. This world moves at a different pace than the one you know. Here time stretches gently, like branches swaying above you. Here nothing rushes, nothing pushes forward faster than it needs to. Leaves fall only when they're ready. Streams carve their paths not in days or years, but through centuries. Even roots wind their way through soil slowly, patiently, as if they remember that everything worth growing takes time. While you walk here, you are welcome to move just as slowly. You might notice something delicate shifting along the edge of a leaf. A tiny shape, barely visible, pauses before continuing on its quiet path. Life in this place rarely announces itself. It prefers to move gently, without urgency, without forcing you to pay attention. And yet somehow, everything you observe seems to invite a small sense of wonder. Even the smallest movement feels significant when the night around you is so calm. As your senses settle, allow your thoughts to drift like low clouds moving through warm air. You're not here to learn in the usual way or to remember facts or names. You're here to simply be present in this soft, living world, shaped by countless drops of rain, countless layers of leaf and soil, countless years of quiet growth. Each breath, each step, each moment is part of the forest now, merging slowly with the gentle rhythm of the night. And if you close your eyes for just a moment, you might feel as if the forest is holding you in its quiet green embrace, inviting you to rest, inviting you to feel at home in a place where everything breathes slowly and where you too are allowed to slow down. As you continue walking beneath those towering shapes, something subtle begins to shift inside your awareness. It's as though the forest itself has decided to share a small memory with you, a memory from long before people walked the earth, long before the first cities rose, long before oceans and continents became what they are today. The night air feels thicker here, carrying a sense of age so vast that the word ancient feels too young to describe it. The soil beneath you has stored countless seasons inside its layers, the remains of leaves and roots and entire lifetimes pressed into quiet earth, slowly becoming part of something wider than any single moment. You pause for a moment, letting silence settle. The stillness around you seems to contain more than emptiness. It feels full of time, full of change, full of cycles that unfolded long before any human ever tried to give names to them. Somewhere in the distance, a faint vibration moves through the ground. Perhaps it's wind shifting through branches, perhaps it's water deep under the soil. Whatever it is, the sensation arrives not as a sound, but as a gentle reminder that even in moments of complete quiet, the forest is never truly still. Millions of years ago, long before the night creatures you hear today existed, this world was already learning how to grow, how to breathe, how to become the living landscape that surrounds you. Early plants reached upward in forms very unlike those around you now, thin and small and fragile, yet determined to catch sunlight filtering through ancient skies. The air of those early ages held different mixtures of gases, and the scent of the world would have felt unfamiliar to any living creature today. And yet, the rhythm of growth, the slow cycles of life returning to soil and rising again in new shapes, that pattern has remained like a gentle pulse beneath every forest that has ever lived. The roots beneath your feet stretch in every direction, linking tree to tree in ways you cannot see. Through these roots, nutrients pass, messages travel, subtle signals shift in darkness. This hidden network holds a memory older than any story humans have ever told. Imagine each tree as a tall, living archive, storing traces of seasons that turned long ago, recording patterns of rainfall, drought, heat, and shade. Even now, as you breathe, the trees around you are quietly reading the world, its temperature, its moisture, its slow turning from dusk toward night, and responding with patience shaped over countless centuries. A small breeze moves through the branches, carrying thin strands of cloud-like mist that brush gently across your cheeks. Somewhere above, something that might be the wing of a bat sweeps through the night, silent and precise. You may not see it clearly, but you feel the motion in the way air shifts around you. The forest does not always reveal itself through sight. Sometimes it is the faint movement of leaves or the delicate change in temperature that tells you life is passing close by. You continue walking, letting your steps become slower and softer until each movement feels like part of the forest rather than something separate from it. The deeper you move, the more you begin to sense that you are not just passing through a landscape, you are gently entering a story that has been unfolding for millions of years. And as you listen, the boundaries between your thoughts and the hum of the forest begin to blur, like lines drawn gently in sand and touched by rising water. You take another careful step forward, and the forest seems to lean just a little closer, not in a way that feels heavy, but more like a gentle curiosity, as if it is greeting you quietly in its own language, a language built from rustling leaves and shifting branches. The ground beneath your feet feels soft and textured, layered with countless fallen leaves that have become part of the soil over time. Every step presses into a history that stretches backward farther than imagination is willing to travel. And yet the forest seems to carry that history with a calm certainty, as though age is just another season here. A fine mist continues drifting through the air, settling lightly on your skin. It cools your face in a way that feels almost deliberate, like the forest offering a small, silent blessing. As the night thickens, your senses begin to sharpen around sounds rather than shapes. You notice the faint tapping of moisture dripping from leaves, the gentle fluttering of something passing close, the low hum of insects moving through hidden spaces. These sounds are small, yet they weave together into something like a quiet lullaby, soothing in its softness and steady in its rhythm. You pause again, not because you need to, but because the forest gently encourages pauses. In the world beyond this place, pauses sometimes feel like interruptions, but here they feel like the natural way of things. You breathe in slowly, letting the humid air fill your lungs, and for a moment, your breath feels like part of the forest's breath. You exhale just as slowly, releasing a bit more of the day that might still be clinging to you. Each breath seems to draw you deeper into this place, into its warmth, its quiet, its endless night. Somewhere beneath the soil, invisible to your eyes but always present, roots are moving. Very slowly, of course, in ways you would never notice. Yet those roots form an immense web through the darkness beneath you. They reach outward in every direction, connecting tree to tree, sharing nutrients, water, even signals that warn of stress. Scientists sometimes describe this network as a kind of communication system. Though the forest never sought our understanding, it simply grew in this way because growth has always been a silent conversation between living things. Imagine, if you can, those roots stretching beyond what you can see, passing through rich soil filled with tiny organisms. Each grain of soil contains countless microscopic lives, each living a story too small for human senses and yet vital to the forest's balance. Tiny fungi thread themselves through this world, forming long strands that move nutrients from one root to another, almost like gentle exchanges between old friends. These fungi have existed for hundreds of millions of years, long before flowering trees, long before birds filled the night sky, long before mammals walked through these depths. They have watched entire ancestral forests rise and disappear, and still they continue their quiet work beneath the surface tonight. As you continue walking, the trees around you seem to grow taller, though perhaps it is not their height that changes, but your perception. Shapes stretch upward into the darkness, their trunks wide and strong, like pillars holding up the night. The bark feels cool to the touch if you run your hand gently along it, cool and slightly damp with condensation that has gathered from mist drifting through the air. Each tree holds within it a memory of storms weathered, seasons past, and quiet nights like this one where moonlight barely reached the ground below. You stop near one such tree just to sense its presence more fully. Your hand rests against its surface, feeling the faint roughness beneath your fingers. The temperature of the wood feels calm, almost soothing, as though the tree itself is radiating a slow, steady peace. At first, you might think you are simply imagining this feeling, but then you remember that trees regulate the temperature around them in subtle ways, releasing moisture when warmth builds, cooling their surroundings through slow evaporation. It's not magic, simply the forest doing what it has always done, shaping the air gently around living things. When you close your eyes for a moment, you can almost feel movement inside the tree, water lifting upward through tiny vessels, sap climbing slowly toward leaves at the top of the canopy. It moves with a patience that human life rarely understands, inch by inch, day by day, year after year. A tree does not hurry because time behaves differently for something that may have lived through centuries. Something that may continue living long after the present moment has passed. You let your eyes open slowly again, and as your vision adjusts to the dim light filtering from above, you notice a soft glow along the forest floor. At first, the glow feels faint, almost like your imagination shaping light out of shadow, but then you realize it comes from patches of luminous fungi nestled in the moist soil. They shine gently, like small embers that never burn hot, only warm enough to suggest light where none should be. Their glow feels like a quiet reminder that life here is never limited to what can easily be seen. Moisture gathers on your hair and clothes, settling like a cool veil across your shoulders. The humidity wraps itself around you, not heavy, but comforting in its consistency. Every sound, every movement seems softened by the thickness of the air, as though the world has lowered its volume to encourage rest. The distant call of a night creature echoes once and then fades into the darkness. A soft clicking sound follows, perhaps from a small insect tapping its way along a leaf. You don't need to know exactly what each sound is. It is enough just to listen, to allow the forest to speak in the languages it chooses. You continue forward slowly, and the path beneath your feet becomes narrower, winding gently between trees whose roots twist and curl around one another like ribbons woven through soil. The ground dips slightly, guiding you toward a small hollow where moisture has gathered from recent rainfall. Water rests in shallow pools between stones, reflecting fragments of moonlight that drift through the canopy above. When a drop falls from a leaf overhead, it lands with a soft sound, barely more than a whisper, but clear enough to become part of this quiet nighttime symphony. You kneel near the water just for a moment, watching the surface ripple gently as each drop lands. The water looks dark at first, deep, mysterious, but as your eyes relax, you notice faint reflections shifting on the surface. The trees above appear as shadowy shapes, stretching across the gentle ripples like painted strokes across dark glass. And if you lean close enough, you might see something moving slowly just below the surface. A small amphibian adjusting its position, a tiny fish drifting through the shallow pool, or simply a play of shadow and water that suggests movement without revealing a shape. The night air begins to cool slightly as you rise again, though the humidity remains steady. You walk more slowly now, not because you are tired, but because the forest seems to request slower steps. Every movement becomes deliberate, thoughtful, as though you are learning to walk at the pace of the rainforest instead of the pace of your usual world. Each moment stretches comfortably forward, like a gentle thread pulling you deeper into stillness. A soft breeze passes through the canopy, carrying the scent of something sweet and unfamiliar. Perhaps it is the aroma of blossoms opening somewhere far above, or fruit ripening slowly in darkness. Flowers in the rainforest do not always bloom when daylight arrives. Many open only at night, inviting creatures that navigate through scent rather than sight. Their perfume drifts downward in cool waves, filling the space around you with fragrances that seem almost dreamlike. You inhale slowly, letting the scent travel through you, noticing how it seems to spark something quiet inside your mind. The sweetness softens your thoughts, letting them float instead of settle. In the hush of this place, your mind no longer searches for explanations or names. It simply receives, it feels, it rests. As you continue deeper into the forest, the pathway winds between massive trunks that stand close enough to create narrow corridors of shadow. In these spaces, sound feels amplified, not louder but closer, as though every rustling leaf or distant call happens right beside you. You become aware of tiny vibrations through the ground beneath your feet, subtle signals that may come from creatures moving unseen, or simply from the shifting of soil under slow root growth. It's easy to imagine that these vibrations are messages traveling through the earth, quiet conversations between trees, fungi, insects, and the unseen microworld that pulses beneath the surface. You're not required to understand these conversations. Just knowing they exist brings a sense of comfort, like listening to voices humming gently through walls, telling stories you don't need to decipher in order to appreciate. You pause again, letting your breath steady. You can almost hear your heartbeat settling into a slower pace, aligning gently with the rhythm of distant dripping water and the hum of night insects. In places like this, even your heartbeat begins to feel like part of the forest, joining countless rhythms that have pulsed through this world for ages. You lift your eyes slowly, letting your gaze travel upward along a massive trunk. High above, branches extend outward like arms reaching through darkness. Leaves shift against one another in the soft breeze, catching the silver light of the moon in delicate patterns. For a moment, the canopy seems to swirl gently overhead, as though the forest itself were dreaming. You take one more slow step, then another, and with each step, the night grows deeper, the air thicker, the world quieter, until you feel yourself moving through a place where time no longer measures itself by hours or minutes, but by the turning of leaves, by the opening of flowers, by the rise of mist into moonlit air. Everything around you seems to invite rest. The trees, the soil, the distant calls, the slow drift of breeze, all of it feels like a lullaby whispered in languages older than speech. You might notice your eyelids growing heavier, not from exhaustion, but from a sense of profound ease. The forest seems to hold you gently in its embrace, reminding you that rest is as natural as rain falling on leaves. You take another breath and it feels deeper than the ones before. You exhale slowly, letting tension leave your body like a quiet sigh. And as you continue forward through the darkness, your mind feels softer, quieter, drifting comfortably through a world shaped by green shadows and endless night. Tonight, there is nothing to hurry toward, nothing waiting beyond these trees. For now, you are part of the calm movement of the forest, walking slowly through the mist, listening to faint sounds that rise and fade, letting your breath settle into the rhythm of a place that has breathed through ages you cannot count. And as the night deepens further, the path ahead remains soft and welcoming, guiding you gently onward, inviting you to continue this quiet journey into stillness, into wonder, into rest. As you keep moving through the night, the dark shapes around you begin to seem less like separate trees and more like parts of a single living presence. The roots beneath the soil, the trunks rising toward the sky, the canopy overhead, all of these feel connected, not just physically, but through something deeper, something that moves quietly beneath everything. You begin to sense that you are walking not only among trees, but within something that breathes, something that listens, and something that remembers. The air feels warmer now, although the temperature has not changed. Perhaps it is your body adjusting to the forest, or perhaps the forest itself has wrapped you in its calm embrace. You notice the faint glimmer of moisture along a nearby branch, each droplet catching a sliver of moonlight before sliding silently to the ground. These droplets have traveled through the sky, gathered in clouds shaped by distant oceans, carried across continents, and finally released here, where leaves catch them gently like tiny offerings from the air. When the droplets fall, they return to the soil that welcomed them countless times before, continuing cycles that have unfolded long before any human story began. Somewhere close by, a soft rustling interrupts the quiet just enough to draw your attention. It might be a small nocturnal animal moving through the undergrowth, or perhaps the wings of an insect brushing gently against broad leaves. Whatever it is, the sound dissolves quickly into surrounding darkness, leaving you with a sense of curiosity that lingers like a gentle echo. You do not need to see what moved. The forest reveals only what it chooses, and the rest remains folded safely in shadow, protected by night. You take a few more careful steps, letting the forest guide your pace. As your feet press lightly into the soil, you begin to feel tiny vibrations that seem to travel upward through your legs. These vibrations are not loud or sudden. They are subtle, almost like a soft hum beneath the ground. They might come from insects tunneling through soil, or from the slow shifting of water deep beneath layers of roots. Or perhaps they are simply the murmurs of the earth adjusting beneath the weight of trees that have stood here for centuries, anchored firmly to the world, yet always expanding upward in quiet growth. A thin wisp of mist drifts across your path, momentarily obscuring the ground beneath you. As the mist clears, you notice a cluster of faintly glowing shapes tucked between roots. These shapes pulse with soft green light, as if responding to the rhythm of your breathing. The glow is gentle enough not to disturb the night, but bright enough to remind you that even in darkness, life here never disappears. Rather, it continues in forms that reveal themselves only when the world grows still enough to notice. You kneel down for a moment, letting your eyes move slowly across the glimmering forms. Their edges blur into one another, creating shapes that shift as your perspective changes. At first, they look like delicate patches of moss, then like tiny blossoms opening against the soil. But as you lean closer, you see that these structures are neither plants nor flowers. They are fungi, living quietly beneath the surface, extending microscopic filaments deep into the earth. Their bioluminescent glow is faint, almost shy, but steady enough to guide insects along hidden pathways through the night. Far above, you hear something like soft rain, though the sky remains clear. The sound is created by dew forming on leaves and then rolling off, falling in gentle drops to the forest floor. Each drop lands with a barely audible sigh, blending with other tiny sounds into a delicate pattern that feels almost like music played on instruments carved from living wood. The forest carries this music without urgency, allowing each note to drift and settle wherever the breeze gently leads it. The night deepens around you, not darker, but somehow more complete. The air grows heavier in a way that feels comforting, as though the forest has drawn a protective layer of quiet around itself. Your own breath grows slower, matching something in the environment that seems to invite rest. In this moment, time feels less like something measured and more like something experienced, one calm heartbeat at a time. You rise again and continue forward, letting the path guide you naturally. You notice that the ground beneath your feet feels slightly different now, softer, more cushioned, as though you are walking across layers of older soil, enriched by countless generations of fallen leaves. Each leaf that once fluttered through, this air eventually returned to the earth, breaking down into particles too small for the eye to see, nourishing the soil that now supports your steps. In this way, the forest renews itself endlessly, creating the foundation that allows life to rise anew with each passing season. A cool breeze drifts through the canopy, carrying with it the faint perfume of blossoms that open only under moonlight. Some flowers wait for darkness to unfold their petals, inviting nocturnal visitors that navigate the forest through scent rather than sight. These flowers release fragrances that drift softly through the night, guiding moths and tiny bats toward nectar hidden within their shapes. This exchange between blossom and visitor is delicate, shaped by countless nights like this one, where scent becomes a silent invitation carried through warm forest air. As you inhale, you notice hints of sweetness mingled with earthy tones. It feels like the night itself has brushed your senses with a gentle touch. The fragrance settles around you, calming thoughts that might otherwise wander, reminding you that experience can be felt rather than analyzed, sensed rather than explained. You continue walking, and the aroma follows you like a soft trail left by unseen blossoms overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a chorus of insects begins to rise. Their voices start as a faint tremor beneath the hum of night, then grow gradually, forming layers of sound that blend into a single shifting tone. The insects do not sing for you, of course. They sing for one another, responding to signals hidden in vibrations that travel through the air. Yet you are welcome to listen, to let their chorus settle into the space around you, into your thoughts, into your breath. The insects' chorus becomes gentler as you continue deeper, replaced now by something softer, perhaps the rustling of leaves as small creatures move through the canopy. You begin to notice how many sounds in this place rise and fall in waves, shifting gently from one pattern to another, never abrupt, never startling. Even when something moves quickly through the branches, it seems to do so with a kind of grace that belongs only to the night. You slow your steps again, letting stillness return. The air around you feels warmer, perhaps from the density of leaves overhead. Moisture clings to your skin in a thin, cooling film. You might notice your eyelids feeling heavier now, not from fatigue, but from a sense of peace settling into your body like a soothing balm. The forest seems to cradle you gently, reminding you that rest is a natural part of life, as necessary as growth, as essential as breath. Another soft rustling draws your attention. this time from just above your head. You glance upward slowly, allowing your eyes to adjust to the movement. A small shape rests along a curved branch, barely visible in the dim light. It could be a sleeping bird, or perhaps a small mammal curled into the warmth of its nest. You cannot see its features clearly, but you sense its presence, quiet and undisturbed, breathing steadily in the stillness of night. The creature remains calm, as though your presence poses no threat, as though the forest itself has introduced you. You continue walking, and the path begins to slope gently upward. The incline is gradual, easy to follow, guiding you toward a higher place where the canopy thins slightly. Through gaps in the leaves, you catch glimpses of the night sky, dark velvet adorned with countless stars shining faintly between drifting branches. The sight feels both vast and intimate, as though the sky itself has leaned down to meet the forest, sharing a quiet moment in the deepest hour of night. As you reach the crest of the slope, the view opens just enough for you to see the forest stretching outward in every direction, an endless sea of dark shapes swaying gently under moonlight. The sight holds something deeply calming, a reminder that this place continues far beyond your vision, spreading across hills and valleys, forming patterns shaped by time rather than intention. You stand quietly, letting your eyes soften, letting the vastness settle into you like a slow, steady breath. When you begin moving again, the path beneath your feet narrows slightly, winding between trees that stand close enough to form natural arches overhead. These arches filter moonlight into delicate patterns that shift with each breeze, creating a tapestry of light and shadow across the ground. Your steps become slower as you follow these patterns, allowing them to guide your gaze, your thoughts, and your breath. At last, the path levels out, and you find yourself walking once again through dense canopy where moonlight barely touches the ground. The air grows cooler, the humidity deeper. You feel enveloped in something soft, something ancient, something alive. The forest around you continues to breathe, continues to shift, continues to listen. And as you walk forward, your thoughts grow quieter, your body feels lighter, and your mind drifts gently into a space where time slows into stillness, and stillness becomes rest. You move forward along the moist ground, and every few steps, the sounds around you seem to rearrange themselves into something slightly different, as if the night is gently shifting its melody. What was a soft hum a moment ago now feels like a distant whisper, and what used to sound like faint dripping now feels like a slow heartbeat pulsing through branches and roots. None of it is loud, none of it demands your attention. Everything whispers, everything drifts, everything feels like part of a long exhale shaping the darkness around you. The ground becomes softer beneath your feet, cushioned by layers of fallen leaves that stretch backward for decades, perhaps centuries, each leaf once part of the canopy that now rests high above your head. If you pause and gently press your hand against the soil, you might feel warmth that has gathered during the day, stored beneath layers of earth until night arrives. The warmth is faint but steady, as though the soil is slowly releasing the memory of sunlight. That memory feels gentle now, soft as breath, drifting upward into the cool night air. Somewhere off the path, hidden among large leaves, you hear the faintest rustle. Perhaps a tiny creature is moving through the undergrowth, one that thrives in darkness, adapted to navigate by subtle vibrations and delicate scents. Many animals here rarely see daylight at all. They rest hidden during the sunlit hours and awaken slowly when night cools the forest. Their movements are soft, careful, and often invisible, as though they are made of shadow itself. They move not to hide from you, but simply because this is the rhythm they have always known. Above you, small shapes flutter in gentle arcs between branches. You hear the soft whisper of wings slicing through thick air, then fading into silence again. Many of these creatures depend on senses beyond human reach. Echoes, scents, magnetic cues carried through the night. They move with confidence through a darkness so deep that human eyes could never guide them. And yet to them, this night feels familiar and safe, a world of invisible pathways carved through air and leaf and scent. As you continue walking, the air grows more humid, though not uncomfortably so. The humidity feels like a soft blanket, warm enough to soothe your body, cool enough to keep the night from becoming heavy. Fine droplets rest gently on your skin, forming delicate beads that shimmer faintly whenever moonlight brushes across them. These droplets are not rain, they are the breath of the forest itself, rising slowly from soil and bark and leaf, collecting in the air until night becomes a mist woven from countless tiny touches of moisture. If you inhale deeply now, you might detect the layers of scent that shift with each breath. First, the rich aroma of soil releasing warmth, then the sweet trace of blossoms that opened while the sun was setting, then the faint mineral scent of water lingering inside moss and bark. None of these scents compete with each other. Like everything here, they blend softly, forming delicate patterns that drift through air like invisible threads. The forest does not overwhelm, it simply surrounds. Your steps continue to soften as you walk, each one slower than the last, until you are barely aware of movement at all. The forest seems to absorb any sound you make, welcoming each step as though it has waited for this quiet presence. Even the simple act of walking becomes part of something larger, something that feels deeply connected to the slow pulse of night. And in that rhythm, your thoughts begin to drift, not away, but inward, toward a calm that has been waiting patiently beneath the surface of your mind. Across the path, you notice something shimmering gently along a fallen branch. It takes a moment to realize that tiny droplets have collected along the wood, forming small beads that catch the slightest bit of moonlight. If you reach out and lightly touch the branch, you'll feel cool moisture against your fingertips, the same moisture that fuels life in every corner of the forest. Even fallen wood becomes a home, a shelter, a foundation for new growth. Nothing here is ever truly still, even if movement is too slow for the eye to catch. A soft chirring sound rises gently from somewhere above. It is slow and steady, like a quiet lullaby echoing through branches. The sound repeats with gentle patience, forming a rhythm that blends easily with the night. You listen without effort, allowing the chirring to drift into your awareness rather than trying to understand it. This forest is filled with voices that speak not in language, but in feeling. The chirring feels calm, soft, familiar, perhaps even comforting. You begin to notice a faint glow near the base of a tree, a soft pale light that moves very slightly, almost pulsing with a rhythm of its own. When you walk closer, the glow divides into tiny points that flicker and shift in the darkness. These may be insects carrying light within their small bodies, using brightness like a silent signal sent through night air. They rise gently into the space between trees, leaving delicate traces of light that fade slowly into darkness again. Their glow is subtle, never bright enough to disturb the calm, yet beautiful enough to catch your breath for a moment. There are other movements too, but so silent that you sense rather than see them. Perhaps the faint vibration of something passing across bark above your head, or a subtle shift in air created by wings too delicate to hear. Even tiny creatures like moths or beetles shape the night in ways rarely noticed, carrying pollen, spreading spores, continuing cycles that have existed longer than human memory. When they land on leaves, the surface bends just slightly, like a gentle bow, acknowledging their presence without changing the stillness of night. You feel your heartbeat slowing, settling into a pace that matches the calm around you. It's not a change you consciously make, your body simply aligns itself with this new rhythm. The forest encourages rest, not by asking, but by existing. Every detail here, from the soft hum of insects to the cool mist rising from soil, works together to invite your body into ease, to invite your thoughts into stillness, to invite your breath into the slow rhythm of night. A gentle breeze brushes against your arms, carrying with it the soft scent of damp bark. You might notice how the scent seems to deepen with each passing moment, becoming richer, warmer, more familiar. Bark stores moisture during the day, holding it deep within wood, releasing it slowly when night arrives. This slow release helps cool the air, shaping temperature across the forest, guiding winds through branches. Even these small breaths of wind are part of a larger conversation, silent yet constant, between leaf and sky, between soil and air. Tiny droplets gather at the edge of a wide fern, forming a thin line of moisture along each frond. When one droplet becomes heavy enough, it falls gently toward the ground, landing without sound. The fern remains still, accepting the loss of the droplet and the arrival of another, continuing the slow exchange of water that has shaped this forest through countless nights like this one. Every plant here participates in this cycle, drawing water upward, releasing it back into air, creating a soft, steady breath that moves through everything. At one point, you pause near a group of tall trunks that seem to rise like pillars of living stone. Their surfaces feel firm beneath your fingertips, cool and textured. If you press your ear lightly against the bark, you might hear the faintest hum, like a deep vibration traveling upward from roots, moving water to leaves. Trees speak in such subtle ways human ears cannot fully detect, but ways other plants, insects and creatures sense with ease. Beneath everything, a quiet exchange continues, shaping life second by second without ever rushing. Above you, the night seems infinite, yet never empty. Stars shimmer faintly between drifting branches, each twinkle softened by moisture in the air. The sky does not dominate this landscape. It shares space gently, allowing the forest to remain the center of night. Together, sky and trees create a world where darkness becomes something comforting, something that holds rather than hides, something that invites rest rather than fear. As you breathe slowly, deeply, you may start to feel your mind loosening its grip on waking thought. Each inhale becomes quieter, each exhale longer, until breath feels less like something you do and more like something happening on its own. The night seems to breathe with you, sometimes expanding, sometimes settling gently around you, like the calm rise and fall of waves on a quiet shore. There is a moment where everything feels suspended, your thoughts, the sounds around you, even time itself, like a single breath held softly in the darkness. Then the moment releases, and you feel yourself drifting deeper into this calm world, guided by nothing more than soft footsteps on moist earth and the gentle pull of night. And as you continue walking beneath branches and mist and starlit sky, your body feels lighter, your mind feels clearer, and your breath continues to soften, carrying you slowly through this endless peaceful forest night. As night moves deeper across the rainforest, the atmosphere changes in ways that science continues to study and admire. Moisture rises slowly from leaves and soil, forming thin layers of mist that hang just above the forest floor. These layers are not random. They follow patterns established by the breathing of trees, by the slow release of water vapor through millions of tiny pores known as stomata, and by the quiet movement of warm air rising through cooler layers above it. Researchers studying nighttime humidity have discovered that forests can create their own microclimate, adjusting temperature and moisture in ways that allow countless species to thrive even during long periods without rainfall. This ability to shape the air is one reason rainforests remain some of the most stable ecosystems on the planet. When sunlight disappears, plants do not simply rest. They continue releasing oxygen and drawing in carbon dioxide, though in slightly different proportions compared to the day. This nighttime exchange contributes to global carbon cycles in ways that extend far beyond the boundaries of the forest itself. Every leaf, every tiny patch of moss, every fragment of bark participates in these exchanges, affecting not only temperature and humidity locally, but also the balance of atmospheric gases at a global scale. Scientists use sensitive instruments placed high within the canopy to measure these exchanges, revealing that nighttime respiration plays a crucial role in climate regulation. Within this darkness, many creatures that spend daylight hours hidden among foliage begin their most active period of life. Bats fly between trees, searching for insects, guided by advanced forms of echolocation that map space using sound waves too fast and subtle for human ears. This technique is so finely tuned that bats can avoid vines as thin as thread, maneuvering with precision even in dense clusters of overlapping branches. They also control insect populations, many of which play essential roles in pollination and nutrient cycling. Studies show that if bats disappeared, entire chains of ecological relationships could weaken, altering plant reproduction and allowing pest species to rise unchecked. The importance of insects themselves cannot be overstated. In the darkest hours, insects engage in behavior that sometimes determines the health of entire ecosystems. Certain beetles carry pollen from one species of tree to another, even though the flowers may only open briefly in the late evening. Moths move upward through layers of vegetation, spreading spores that help fungi grow, while ants form living networks that transport nutrients from one part of the forest to another. Even the smallest organisms influence climate. Their feeding and movement release microscopic particles into the air that act as seeds for raindrops. Moisture clings to these particles, forming tiny droplets that drift upward into cooler zones where clouds develop. This interaction between biological activity and weather formation means rainforests are not only ecosystems, they are engines of atmospheric change. Moisture created in one part of the forest can travel enormous distances, eventually falling as rain hundreds or even thousands of miles away. Satellite observations reveal long pathways of vapor streaming from the tropics toward distant continents, supplying water to dry regions and shaping seasonal rainfall in ways that farmers have unknowingly relied on for centuries. Without the vapor rising from rainforests, climate models suggest many regions would become significantly drier, leading to increased drought and loss of vegetation far beyond tropical latitudes. Even the physical shape of leaves influences climate. Large, broad leaves release moisture that cools the surrounding air, while narrow and pointed leaves direct water efficiently towards the soil, reducing evaporation during periods of intense heat. Some leaves contain waxy coatings that reflect sunlight, protecting tissues below while also reducing surface temperature. Billions of leaves working together form a vast cooling system that can moderate temperatures not only locally but also regionally. Measurements taken above the canopy demonstrate that forests lower ground temperature by several degrees, preventing heat buildup that would otherwise contribute to broader warming patterns. Beneath the soil, a different kind of climate control takes place. Layers of decomposing organic matter store immense quantities of carbon, preventing it from entering the atmosphere. This soil, built slowly over thousands of years, forms deep deposits that act like underground reservoirs of carbon. When forests remain undisturbed, they continue storing these gases safely. But when trees are removed or land is burned, stored carbon escapes quickly into the air, raising global temperatures more rapidly than many other sources of emissions. Researchers warn that preserving intact forest soil is among the most effective strategies for slowing climate change, because these deposits represent ancient storage systems developed long before human influence. Roots extend far beneath the surface, linking trees into networks capable of sharing information and resources. These networks allow trees to send signals when water becomes scarce or when pests begin attacking leaves. Through complex chemical exchanges facilitated by fungi, one tree may slow its water use while another increases defensive compounds against insects. These interactions help forests respond as unified systems rather than isolated individuals. Modern science only recently began recognizing these networks as forms of communication, though indigenous knowledge has spoken for generations about the connectedness of forest life. Even deeper in the soil, microorganisms perform work essential for ecosystem survival. Millions of microscopic species break down fallen leaves, converting them into nutrients used by new plants. Some microbes fix nitrogen directly from the air, enriching soil in ways that sustain tree growth for centuries. Others aid in decomposition, releasing slow, steady streams of nutrients that enter long cycles supporting entire food webs. Purely through their existence, microbes influence temperature, moisture, and soil structure, shaping life in ways human observation is only beginning to understand. In the canopy above, lizards, frogs, and insects behave in ways that reveal how species adapt to their specific ecological niches. Some frogs shift color between day and night, reflecting their need to avoid predators that rely on sight. Butterflies with transparent wings reduce their visibility, allowing them to feed safely among flowers without attracting attention. Lizards change shade in response to temperature and light, remaining hidden while they hunt. These adaptations combine to create layers of coexistence where species occupy precise positions in space and time, reducing competition and promoting biodiversity. As night deepens further, the forest becomes a world of low-frequency sound. Deep calls echo through branches as nocturnal animals communicate across long distances. Some calls travel farther than others, depending on humidity, leaf density, and temperature. The night air carries these vibrations in patterns shaped by weather conditions that change from hour to hour. Researchers studying sound propagation have found that animals often choose specific times to call based on atmospheric clarity, ensuring their signals reach intended partners or rivals across vast spaces. Sound becomes another form of environmental negotiation, influenced by physics and biology together. When morning approaches, moisture that collected during the night begins transforming once more. As temperature rises, droplets evaporate and move upward, carrying with them traces of the forest's chemical identity. Some molecules serve as signals for pollinators, others influence cloud formation, and still others simply become part of the atmospheric blend moving across continents. This transformation between night and day forms a cycle repeated millions of times, sustaining life while shaping global weather patterns. Throughout these hours, you continue to sense the forest not as a still environment, but as a dynamic system responding continuously to temperature, humidity, light, and biological activity. Every branch, every leaf, every insect plays a role in this vast equilibrium. The forest is constantly adjusting, constantly communicating, constantly balancing energy, moisture, and nutrients. These processes do not pause when darkness falls. They continue quietly, guided by rhythms older than recorded history. If you were to remain here through several nights, you might begin to recognize subtle differences in temperature, humidity, and sound each evening. Some nights feel warmer because clouds trap heat near the Earth's surface. Other nights feel cooler and clearer when dry air moves through canopy layers. The forest adapts gently to each variation, shifting behavior as needed to maintain conditions that support life. This adaptability forms the foundation of the rainforest's remarkable resilience, allowing species to survive changes that might overwhelm more fragile ecosystems. When dawn finally approaches, the quiet transformations of night begin preparing for the day to come. Leaves will soon open, more fully to sunlight, stomata will widen, photosynthesis will increase, insects will shift their behavior, and the forest will move gently from nocturnal rhythm to daylight cycle. But for now, darkness continues holding this world together, maintaining the delicate balance that keeps moisture rising, temperature steady, and life connected in countless unseen ways. And as you imagine yourself within this long night, walking slowly beneath towering trunks, observing creatures that thrive without light and listening to soft movement in every direction. You also carry a growing understanding of how deeply the rainforest shapes not only its own environment, but the climate of the entire planet. Even in darkness, even in silence, the rainforest continues performing its quiet work, sustaining life far beyond its borders. As sunlight begins forming a faint presence along the horizon, the rainforest transitions into one of the most complex daily cycles anywhere on Earth. The air, heavy with nighttime moisture, starts to warm near the canopy, creating gentle upward currents that carry water vapor toward higher layers of the atmosphere. These movements appear subtle to anyone standing beneath the trees, but satellites reveal immense plumes of vapor rising from tropical forests each morning, feeding cloud formation that influences weather thousands of kilometers away. In this way, each morning in the rainforest marks the beginning of another global pulse of moisture that shapes the climate of entire continents. The first rays of light touch the uppermost leaves, revealing patterns of condensation formed throughout the night. Droplets slide from leaf tips designed specifically to guide water downward in narrow paths, preventing fungal growth on delicate tissue. This design repeats across countless species, showing that leaf shape is more than a physical appearance. It represents millions of years of adaptation to moisture, light, and microbial life. Some leaves angle themselves just enough to capture early rays, increasing temperature very slightly and improving photosynthesis during the first minutes of dawn. Others remain folded or shaded to prevent sudden evaporation when the morning becomes warm. As light strengthens, plant processes shift rapidly. Stomata open wider, allowing carbon dioxide to enter and oxygen to exit more efficiently. The chemical reactions responsible for photosynthesis accelerate as chlorophyll molecules receive consistent energy from sunlight. Inside each leaf, microscopic factories begin producing sugars that will fuel growth not only for the plant itself, but for countless animals that depend on fruits, flowers, sap, and foliage. This exchange forms the foundation of the entire ecosystem, connecting tiny organisms to large mammals and connecting every living thing to the atmosphere above. The warming air triggers movement in insects that remain hidden during the night. Some species begin their daily journey across foliage, searching for pollen, nectar, or tiny fragments of organic matter left behind by rain or wind. Pollinators such as bees and butterflies rely on specific times of day when flowers reach their peak productivity, opening petals that remained closed throughout the dark hours. Many rainforest flowers synchronize blooming with the first hours of daylight so that pollinators can quickly transfer genetic material. This synchronization ensures reproductive success, shaping biodiversity at every level. Higher in the canopy, birds move from their nighttime shelters with complex calls that travel across valleys and river systems. These calls, often heard long before the sun becomes visible, serve multiple purposes: marking territory, attracting mates, and communicating among family groups that travel together throughout their lives. Birdsong contains rich patterns that scientists analyze to understand species interactions, migration, and even the health of habitats affected by human influence. Birds are sensitive to changes in temperature, humidity, and food availability, making them vital indicators of rainforest health. As morning progresses, air currents intensify. Warm, moist air rises, meets cooler upper layers, and begins condensing into clouds that form almost continuously above tropical forest regions. This transformation produces some of the world's most predictable rainfall cycles, although climate change has begun altering these patterns in recent decades. Even when rain does not fall, the forest continues releasing moisture to form layers of humidity that help stabilize global temperatures. Without these constant emissions, the atmosphere would heat more quickly, contributing to extreme weather and increased evaporation across dry regions of the world. Inside the forest, the warming ground stimulates another form of life hidden beneath the surface. Microbes begin accelerating decomposition, breaking down organic matter into nutrients that new plants will later absorb through their roots. This nutrient cycle operates with extraordinary efficiency, recycling material rapidly so that soil remains constantly enriched. The decomposition of leaf litter and fallen wood forms a continuous process that returns carbon, nitrogen, and minerals into biological circulation. Many rainforest soils appear thin compared to temperate forests, yet they contain intense biological activity that sustains trees capable of living hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. Roots continue transporting water upward to supply leaves with moisture required for photosynthesis. These roots form intricate networks that reach far beyond individual trees, linking species into shared systems capable of distributing resources where needed. When one part of the forest experiences drought or nutrient stress, other areas may supply water or minerals through underground pathways. Such cooperation allows ecosystems to survive challenges that would destroy less connected environments. Throughout the morning, sunlight filters through layers of vegetation, creating patterns of brightness that change continuously as leaves sway and humidity thickens. Animals respond to these subtle shifts by adjusting activity levels. Some species become more active when sunlight remains soft, avoiding the heat still hours away. Others wait until humidity decreases before emerging from shaded areas. Many rainforest inhabitants possess senses finely tuned to changes in light temperature and wind direction, allowing them to find food, avoid predators, and maintain energy efficiently throughout the day. As heat increases, moisture near the surface evaporates rapidly, adding to already humid air and creating conditions that allow clouds to build into towering formations. In some regions, predictable storm cycles begin forming by late morning, bringing heavy rain during afternoon hours. These rains provide essential hydration that sustains rivers and wetlands, supporting fish, amphibians, and aquatic plants that depend on consistent water flow. Without daily rainfall cycles, many species would struggle to survive periods of intense heat and evaporation. By midday, competition for sunlight shapes another remarkable feature of rainforest structure. Trees grow upward with incredible speed, attempting to capture light before neighboring species block exposure. This growth forms towering trunks capable of reaching heights unmatched in most ecosystems. Their branches spread outward like enormous arms, supporting entire communities of plants living on their surfaces, orchids, ferns, and mosses that collect moisture from air rather than soil. These epiphytic plants contribute additional layers of life, allowing biodiversity to expand upward through multiple levels of canopy. Within these elevated layers, life becomes increasingly specialized. Some animals rarely touch the ground at all, spending entire lifetimes among branches where they find food, shelter, and mates. Others move between canopy layers during different stages of life, occupying niches that only exist in certain areas of the forest. This vertical structuring of habitat creates opportunities for species diversity far greater than horizontal landscapes of similar size. Every few meters of height provides new environmental conditions, temperature differences, humidity shifts, and light variation, and each layer supports unique forms of life adapted to those specific conditions. As the afternoon approaches, storms often form rapidly above dense forests. These storms bring heavy rainfall that returns water to soil, replenishes rivers, and cools the air. Lightning strikes are common, sometimes igniting small fires that clear limited patches of forest floor. While destructive in some regions, these naturally occurring fires help seed growth cycles that promote regeneration and structural diversity. However, human-caused fires combined with climate change alter these natural patterns, creating longer-lasting damage that ecosystems cannot always recover from. After rainfall, moisture-saturated surfaces release scents that travel far across the landscape. These chemical signatures provide information to insects, birds, and mammals about food availability, territory boundaries, and environmental conditions. Scientists have recorded hundreds of volatile compounds entering the atmosphere from damp vegetation, many of which influence atmospheric behavior or act as cloud-forming aerosols. These compounds serve as another example of rainforest processes extending far beyond individual plants or animals. As afternoon transitions into evening, temperatures begin to fall and humidity increases again. Plants slow certain processes, preparing for nighttime respiration and reduced light absorption. Animals shift activity from diurnal behavior to crepuscular and nocturnal routines. Some birds return to sheltered roosts, while others begin evening calls that signal the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. Insects that rested during midday heat emerge once more, continuing pollination, decomposition, and nutrient exchange. Throughout this entire cycle, from dawn to dusk, the rainforest remains a complex machine of interconnected processes that regulate temperature, moisture, and atmospheric chemistry. Every hour contributes to global climate in ways few environments can replicate. The balance between soil, root, leaf, and air forms an intricate system that has shaped Earth's atmosphere for millions of years. This system continues functioning quietly each day, sustaining life not only within the forest, but across continents that rely on its stability. When evening arrives again and light slowly fades behind distant clouds, the rainforest begins preparing once more for the cooling hours of night. Humidity rises, temperature falls, insects shift toward nocturnal activity, and plants adjust internal chemistry to match darkness. The daily rhythm continues endlessly, forming cycles that stretch back through deep evolutionary time. These cycles represent more than weather. They represent the living pulse of a world that maintains balance through quiet, constant work. And as night finally settles, the forest becomes once again a place of soft sound, gentle moisture, and hidden life moving beneath starlight, ready to repeat the same ancient patterns that shape climate, ecosystems, and the future of life on this planet. As the rainforest enters another full night cycle, the systems that shape global weather continue without interruption, driven by countless small processes that occur silently beneath the canopy. The air above the trees holds massive amounts of moisture collected throughout the day, forming invisible rivers of vapor that flow across skies like vast streams suspended in the upper atmosphere. These streams sometimes travel thousands of miles before releasing rain in distant regions, nourishing landscapes that have never seen. Tropical trees yet depend on them more than anyone might imagine. In recent decades, climate scientists have been able to trace these airborne moisture pathways using satellites and atmospheric models, revealing that rainfall in remote agricultural regions, including areas far beyond the tropics, depends significantly on evaporation occurring here. Even while darkness wraps itself around the forest, temperature differences between surface layers and higher altitudes influence air movement through subtle convection cycles. These movements allow continuous circulation, bringing cooler air downward while releasing warm air upward, ensuring that temperature remains relatively stable. This stability is not accidental. It is an adaptive feature shaped through millions of years of evolution among plants and atmospheric processes. Without dense forests moderating both heat and moisture, tropical climates would become much more volatile, developing extreme temperature swings that could threaten biodiversity and destabilize global weather systems. Inside the soil, microbial life continues transforming organic matter into nutrients with remarkable efficiency. Many microbes remain active at night, taking advantage of cooler temperatures that prevent moisture loss. This nighttime decomposition provides a continuous stream of biologically available molecules, allowing roots to absorb nutrients at times when plant metabolism slows. These cycles reveal an important lesson. Even when visible life appears to rest, much of the forest remains busy, performing foundational work that sustains the entire ecosystem. Some roots extend far deeper than others, reaching moisture trapped in underground groundwater reserves or ancient clay layers that hold tiny traces of water even during long periods without rain. These deep-reaching roots help stabilize trees capable of growing over 50 meters tall, supporting immense weight and resisting strong winds common in equatorial regions. When extreme storms pass over the forest, these roots act like anchors, preventing soil erosion and maintaining the structural integrity of slopes and riverbanks. In mountainous rainforests, root systems hold entire hillsides together, reducing landslides and protecting ecosystems downstream from sediment accumulation. Above the ground, certain insects release natural chemicals into the evening air that influence weather patterns. These chemicals form aerosol particles that rise into higher layers of atmosphere and eventually seed clouds. When moisture condenses around these particles, rainfall becomes more likely in areas that rely on consistent precipitation. This means that the presence or absence of certain insect species can influence regional rainfall distribution. When insect populations decline due to habitat loss or chemical pollution, cloud formation may decrease, resulting in less rainfall and increased dryness, even in areas far beyond the original ecosystem. The same delicate balance applies to forest fires. Natural fires, typically sparked by lightning, occur only occasionally in dense rainforest environments, clearing small patches of vegetation that eventually regenerate with fresh growth. But when fire spreads because of human activity, the delicate cycles of moisture, carbon storage, and atmospheric regulation are disrupted. Burning vegetation releases stored carbon into the air, accelerating warming and altering humidity patterns that normally support cloud formation. Smoke particles drift across entire continents, settling on polar ice where darkened surfaces absorb more heat, melting glaciers faster than natural climate fluctuations alone would allow. Each of these events demonstrates how processes that begin beneath this canopy influence regions far beyond it. The rainforest does not exist in isolation. It acts as a component of a global system, interconnected with oceans, deserts, agricultural land, and polar ice. Every rainfall pattern, every storm, every dry spell contains fingerprints of tropical climate regulation, even many thousands of miles away. Scientists studying these relationships now understand that protecting rainforests not only preserves biodiversity, it helps stabilize global climate systems that support human life across every continent. Inside the forest itself, many species function as regulators of plant health. Insects that appear insignificant at first glance help control populations of species that might otherwise dominate the ecosystem. Some tiny herbivores feed selectively on fast-growing plants, allowing slower-growing species space and sunlight to survive. Certain fungi help defend trees from invasions of harmful bacteria, creating barriers that allow ecosystems to remain diverse. Even predators such as frogs, lizards, and nocturnal mammals maintain populations of insects that would otherwise multiply rapidly and disrupt food webs. Each interaction contributes to an ongoing process that prevents any one species from overwhelming the system. At night, some plants perform chemical changes that prepare them for the next day. They store water, alter sugar concentrations, and reposition leaves to catch early sunlight or avoid evaporation. These subtle adjustments demonstrate that even plants possess complex behavioral responses shaped through evolutionary time. Experiments have shown that some rainforest species respond to sound vibrations, magnetic orientation, and changes in air composition in ways that allow them to survive extreme changes in climate. These capabilities reveal an intelligence embedded within biology, not conscious thought, but refined adaptation developed slowly over millions of years. Above the forest, low-lying clouds begin forming through condensation around aerosol particles released earlier in the day. These clouds prevent nighttime cooling from becoming extreme, trapping heat near the surface and keeping temperature relatively balanced from one day to the next. Without this cloud cover, tropical nights would become much cooler, placing stress on species adapted to warm, constant climates. The formation of these clouds depends heavily on aerosol particles created by both vegetation and insects, demonstrating again how life shapes climate. When morning approaches, nocturnal insects complete feeding cycles that ensure pollination for species that bloom only in darkness. These insects transfer pollen between flowers that never open during the day, securing reproduction for species that rely completely on nighttime ecology. Certain orchids depend exclusively on specific moths active only at particular hours, while others release scents attracting insects that navigate by moonlight or infrared light. This specialization supports extraordinary biodiversity and prevents ecological overlap that could cause competition. With each passing hour, subtle changes in humidity, temperature, and air movement influence countless biological relationships. These relationships create stability at every level of rainforest life, ensuring resilience even in periods of drought or sudden temperature change. However, this stability depends on the presence of intact forest systems. When large sections are removed, remaining forests struggle to regulate temperature and moisture. Rain becomes less predictable, soil loses stability, and biodiversity declines. These losses reflect not only ecological tragedy, but also climate risks that extend across the entire planet. Despite challenges, many rainforest regions continue functioning as essential climate regulators. They moderate the flow of giant atmospheric currents known as jet streams, guiding the movement of storms, monsoons, and seasonal winds. Their influence stretches across oceans, shaping the direction of trade winds and altering oceanic temperature cycles that influence weather across hemispheres. This immense interconnected network shows that rainforest conservation is not limited to preserving ecosystems. It directly protects global climate stability. When dawn returns once again and first light touches canopy edges, the rainforest begins repeating cycles that have shaped Earth since long before human existence. These cycles represent an ancient system designed not by intention, but by countless years of adaptation and evolution, forest breathing in harmony with land, water, and sky. Even now, in this quiet moment before sunrise, the forest holds more activity than a human eye could possibly detect. It stores moisture, processes carbon, prepares nutrients, absorbs temperature, and communicates silently between root and leaf. Each small action contributes to a world that stretches far beyond boundaries of trees and soil, supporting climates and life that reach every continent on Earth. As sunlight returns and the atmosphere warms again, the rainforest prepares to enter another full day of biological and climatic activity. Each morning marks the beginning of processes that support not only the organisms living beneath the canopy, but also weather systems extending far beyond the tropics. The rising heat causes air currents to climb upward in visible and invisible waves, transporting moisture gathered through the night into higher layers, where clouds begin forming almost immediately. Even before the sky brightens fully, thin white ribbons of condensation become visible above the tallest emergent trees, showing just how quickly this ecosystem interacts with the atmosphere. Deep within the forest, the increased warmth causes evaporation from soil, leaves, and river surfaces. This evaporation blends with plant transpiration, forming the enormous atmospheric moisture flow, often called the rainforest's flying rivers. Researchers studying these flows have measured the volume of water moving above forests and discovered that it rivals the flow of giant world rivers such as the Amazon itself. These airborne water streams eventually travel across entire continents, influencing rainfall patterns in distant climates. Many agricultural regions unknowingly depend on these flying rivers to sustain fertile soils and seasonal crops, meaning that the loss of tropical forests could one day reduce rainfall in places separated by thousands of kilometers. Within the canopy, sunlight transforms once shaded spaces into centers of intense biological activity. Leaves begin capturing energy through photosynthesis, converting atmospheric carbon dioxide into organic compounds that fuel growth. This process forms the basis of one of the most important carbon storage systems on Earth. Rainforest vegetation absorbs huge quantities of carbon every day, storing it in trunks, branches, roots, and soil rather than releasing it into the atmosphere where it would contribute to planetary warming. Scientists estimate that tropical forests store hundreds of billions of tons of carbon, more than any other land ecosystem. The removal of trees, therefore, represents not only a loss of biodiversity, but a direct release of stored carbon that accelerates global climate change. Every branch and trunk participates in this massive cycle of carbon capture. Young leaves absorb carbon more quickly because they grow rapidly, while older leaves store it over long durations. Even dead wood continues holding carbon for decades as fungal communities decompose material slowly, returning nutrients to soil rather than releasing all carbon immediately. In undisturbed forests, this process remains balanced. Carbon enters the system through the atmosphere and returns only gradually, maintaining a long-term equilibrium. When forests are cleared or burned, however, carbon escapes rapidly, intensifying warming in a feedback loop that affects weather everywhere. Within the forest floor, decomposition follows precise chemical pathways that provide essential nutrients while storing carbon efficiently. Microorganisms break down fallen leaves into simple compounds, which are then transformed into complex organic structures that remain in soil for extended periods. Many of these compounds bind with minerals to form stable carbon deposits. Soil layers sometimes preserve centuries of carbon beneath living vegetation, representing quiet archives of ancient atmospheric conditions. Losing these soils through erosion, farming, or burning releases carbon that has remained safely stored for generations. Roots play critical roles in stabilizing soil and protecting stored carbon from escaping. In heavy rainfall regions, strong root networks prevent erosion by holding soil particles together, reducing runoff and keeping nutrients from washing into rivers. When forests disappear, however, heavy rainfall rapidly erodes exposed soil, carrying nutrients into waterways where they contribute to sediment buildup. This sedimentation affects river ecosystems, coral reefs, and coastal habitats that depend on clear water. Thus, each tree protects not only the land around it, but entire marine systems located thousands of kilometers downstream. As the day progresses and temperatures rise, tropical rainfall becomes more likely. Heat causes moisture to rise rapidly, creating towering columns of warm air that build into cumulonimbus clouds capable of producing heavy rain, thunder, and lightning. These daily storms recycle nutrients, distribute moisture, and help maintain steady temperatures throughout the region. Unlike temperate climates where seasons determine rainfall, many tropical forests receive nearly daily precipitation during parts of the year. These predictable rain cycles enable complex ecological relationships that depend on constant moisture. Even brief interruptions to rainfall can affect plant growth, insect populations, and the movement of animals that rely on specific water availability. High above the canopy, atmospheric currents respond to these heat exchanges by adjusting wind patterns that shape global weather. The uplift created by tropical convection influences jet streams that circulate around the planet, affecting storm development, precipitation, and temperature in distant regions. This means that processes occurring quietly in a remote rainforest can determine rainfall patterns in temperate countries, influence drought conditions in continental interiors, or contribute to storms that travel across oceans. Every piece of climate interacts with every other, forming a planetary system held together by heat exchange between equator and poles. Animals living within these forests have adapted to predictable cycles of heat, humidity, and rainfall. Many species rely on precise timing to find food, avoid predators, or reproduce successfully. Birds hatch young during periods of fruit abundance. Insects breed when moisture levels support larval growth. Even reptiles such as crocodiles wait for seasonal floodwaters to form safe nesting sites. This dependence on seasonal rhythm means that climate changes caused by deforestation or warming can disrupt entire life cycles, forcing species to migrate, adapt rapidly, or face decline. Some plants possess extraordinary adaptations that help them survive extreme humidity and sudden downpours. Waxy coatings on leaves prevent water from filling internal tissues, and slender pointed tips guide raindrops away quickly. These adaptations prevent fungal infections that might overwhelm delicate foliage. Other species form elaborate drainage channels through their surfaces to allow intense rainfall to move rapidly down branches. These structural details have evolved through long periods of natural selection, showing that even leaf shape represents a sophisticated solution to climatic challenges unique to tropical ecosystems. Animals, too, have developed remarkable strategies for navigating wet conditions. Birds often shake water from feathers to maintain insulation and flight ability, while mammals with dense fur rely on natural oils to repel moisture. Amphibians, which require constant humidity, thrive in shaded understory zones where moisture remains trapped beneath foliage even during dry moments. Insect species appear whenever humidity reaches certain levels, responding almost instantly to rainfall that activates breeding behavior. This constant interaction between species and climate creates a dynamic equilibrium that sustains biodiversity. Within cloud layers formed above rainforest regions, moisture crystallizes into droplets that eventually fall as rain, returning water to soil where it enters long cycles of storage and release. These cycles not only support ecosystem health, but influence atmospheric composition. Rain cleanses airborne particles, removes excess dust, and balances humidity in lower atmosphere. Rainforest rainfall also carries nutrients dissolved from tree surfaces, depositing them on forest floors where they enrich soil and sustain plant growth. Every raindrop participates in nutrient recycling that allows these ecosystems to function continuously with minimal loss of essential elements. The relationship between forest and rain extends even further. Trees not only receive rain, they create conditions for rain to form in the first place. Leaves release aerosols and volatile organic compounds that serve as building blocks for cloud condensation. Without these organic chemicals, cloud formation occurs less efficiently, resulting in reduced rainfall and increased temperature. In regions where deforestation has occurred, rainfall has declined dramatically because atmospheric moisture no longer condenses readily without forest-sourced aerosols. This demonstrates that forests do not simply respond to weather, they shape it actively. In the late afternoon, when storms reach their greatest intensity, electrical activity in the atmosphere generates lightning that sometimes ignites small fires. These natural fires clear old vegetation, fertilize soil with mineral-rich ash, and create openings where pioneer species begin new growth. However, increased fire frequency due to human activities disrupts natural regeneration cycles, causing long-term ecological damage and releasing carbon that contributes to warming. Scientists warn that repeated fires undermine rainforest resilience, making forests more vulnerable to future droughts and altering patterns that once supported stable climates. As evening approaches again, temperature gradually decreases and humidity rises, beginning another cycle of nocturnal preparation. Leaves close microscopic openings to reduce water loss, insects shift into darkness, and nocturnal predators prepare to hunt. The day's carbon exchange slows, while nighttime respiration begins balancing atmospheric gases once more. Even during these quiet hours, the rainforest continues supporting planetary climate through moisture release, carbon processing, and atmospheric stabilization. Each day represents a complete system that repeats with variations shaped by seasonal patterns, regional weather, and global atmospheric cycles. Over millions of years, these cycles have built planetary climate as we know it. Without them, the world would look vastly different, hotter, drier, less stable, and less supportive of life as we understand it today. When night finally settles over the canopy and darkness deepens once more, the rainforest resumes its slow, steady work. It sends vapor skyward, stores carbon underground, moderates temperature, and maintains climate equilibrium like a vast living machine designed by nature over unfathomable expanses of time. And as the forest becomes quiet again, its influence continues, shaping rain, guiding winds, and supporting life across every corner of the planet. As night stretches deeper across the rainforest and the last traces of sunlight fade behind distant ridges, the atmosphere above the canopy enters another crucial stage of temperature exchange. The warm air accumulated during the day continues rising long after darkness has settled, carrying moisture upward where cool layers encourage condensation. Even without rain falling, this exchange contributes to a delicate temperature balance that prevents extreme heat loss during nighttime hours. Without this gentle release of heat, the rainforest would experience stark temperature shifts that could harm plants and animals adapted to consistent conditions. Beneath thick layers of foliage, small creatures navigate pathways formed by roots and fallen branches, searching for food that becomes available only after the sun disappears. Many species in these regions depend entirely on nighttime behavior, avoiding competition with daytime feeders and reducing exposure to predators active in daylight. This division of ecological time allows multiple species to use the same resources without conflict, demonstrating how biodiversity depends not only on the physical structure of the forest, but also on the timing of life cycles that have evolved. Through long history, within the quiet soil layers, microbial processes continue returning nutrients to systems that will rely on them at dawn. The slow decomposition taking place through humid dark hours creates the chemical foundation for plant growth, transforming dead matter into new life. These cycles show that even decay participates in the creation of future ecosystems, maintaining the continuity of forest structure and supporting the soil's ability to store carbon for extended periods. Soil carbon retention depends on fine balances between moisture, temperature, and microbial diversity, all of which the rainforest regulates naturally through shade, humidity, and constant organic input. Far above, clouds formed earlier drift gradually over landscapes far beyond the forest itself. Moisture collected here may fall as rainfall across distant valleys, mountains and plains in countries that have never known tropical vegetation. These silent atmospheric journeys illustrate one of the most remarkable truths about this ecosystem. Its influence extends across the globe, shaping weather systems, stabilizing climate, and supporting life far outside its visual boundaries. Farmers planting fields in distant regions unknowingly depend on moisture that once evaporated from rainforest leaves, meaning that every tree removed here reduces the likelihood of rainfall elsewhere. Late in the night, temperatures continue decreasing slowly, reaching the coolest point just before dawn. Insects begin preparing for morning emergence, responding to subtle increases in humidity that precede sunrise. Some species detect temperature shifts of less than a fraction of a degree, allowing them to coordinate behavior across entire regions without visible communication. These sensory capabilities evolved through millions of years in stable tropical climates, revealing complex adaptations that rely on conditions remaining relatively constant from year to year. Roots, sensing shifting soil chemistry as night progresses, adjust water flow through narrow vessels that distribute moisture to where it is most required. When drought threatens, some trees withdraw water from leaves to conserve internal reserves. Others direct additional moisture toward shallow roots that feed young growth. This interplay demonstrates a sophisticated system of regulation that allows forests to survive long dry periods. These strategies become even more crucial under changing climate conditions that increase drought frequency in regions once known for consistent rainfall. As faint light begins touching the highest leaves, the forest prepares once more for the immense exchange of gases, energy, and moisture that will carry through another day. Carbon that accumulated during nighttime respiration begins moving outward again, only to be replaced by new uptake when photosynthesis begins. This reciprocal movement maintains atmospheric balance, contributing to stability that supports global temperature. Systems. The rainforest performs this work without pause, repeating cycles that have existed longer than the mountain ranges rising nearby. Morning birds begin announcing light long before the sun becomes visible. Their calls echo among branches and riverbanks, establishing identity and presence in complex soundscapes filled with information. Birdsong not only communicates territorial boundaries, but also reflects the state of health in surrounding ecosystems. Scientists studying birds have learned that changes in song patterns often indicate shifts in habitat quality, resource availability, or climate stress. Birds therefore function as environmental indicators, revealing the condition of ecosystems even when changes remain invisible to the human eye. As daylight strengthens, photosynthesis accelerates again, drawing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and forming organic material that will support growth throughout the day. Tropical species absorb carbon more rapidly than most temperate plants, contributing disproportionately to global carbon storage. This carbon capture makes rainforest preservation one of the most essential climate strategies available to the world. Cutting forests removes a major shield against temperature rise, whereas protecting them strengthens planetary resilience. Clouds once again gather above the canopy, forming early patterns that shape afternoon rainfall. These cloud systems regulate climate not only by producing precipitation, but also by reflecting sunlight away from Earth, preventing temperatures from rising excessively during midday. Without these reflective cloud layers, equatorial regions would become dangerously hot, altering climate far beyond local ecosystems. The forest, therefore, does more than cool its own interior. It helps cool planetary climate by interacting with sunlight long before it reaches the ground. As days turn into weeks and weeks into seasons, forests undergo subtle transitions influenced by rainfall variation, air chemistry, and temperature shifts. Dry periods reduce leaf growth, while rain-rich months encourage flowering that attracts pollinators from across wide regions. Many species time reproduction with seasonal rainfall cycles that allow young animals to access abundant food and water. Disrupting these seasonal patterns through climate change can cause cascading effects across entire ecological webs, forcing migrations, reducing reproductive success, or threatening species dependent on specific conditions. Yet despite challenges, rainforests retain extraordinary resilience. After storms, fallen branches quickly decompose, releasing nutrients into soil that feed new growth. After natural disturbances, pioneer species sprout rapidly, rebuilding canopy levels within surprisingly short periods. Even after drought, roots recover moisture from deep networks that remain inaccessible to shallow vegetation. These adaptive traits allow rainforests to survive cycles of stress that would devastate less diverse ecosystems. As another day moves toward evening, the atmosphere above the canopy begins slowing its circulation again, preparing for temperature transitions that accompany night. Animals return from feeding grounds, insects settle beneath leaves, and plants adjust internal chemistry in anticipation of cooler darkness. The daily rhythm repeats itself, slowly, predictably, and with extraordinary precision. These rhythms represent the deepest foundation of Earth's climate, connecting biological life to atmospheric structure in ways science continues to uncover. When night finally returns again, closing another cycle of exchange between carbon and air, heat and moisture, the rainforest continues its quiet work, a system both ancient and necessary, a living network shaped by time deeper than human memory. Even now, while darkness surrounds every leaf and every root, processes unfold that sustain not only this place, but countless regions across the planet that depend on the silent stability created here. And so the rainforest remains not only a habitat, not only a landscape, but a vital engine that moderates temperature, supports global rain cycles, stabilizes climate systems, and preserves conditions that make life possible across the world. Its presence offers a deeper understanding of how Earth functions, not through isolated regions acting independently, but through complex cooperation between organisms, atmosphere, and time itself. As thoughts grow quieter and the forest settles once again into its nightly hum, the cycles continue, carrying moisture into skies, shaping rain, storing carbon, and nourishing life across continents. And while this vast system remains hidden beneath leaves and branches, its influence touches every part of our world, reminding us that the stability of life depends not on isolated actions, but on interconnected processes that bind all living places into a single planetary home.
you.